Hey guys, what's up? Matt here. In today's video, I'm going to teach you as a sales or as a business owner how you can double your income in 2022. So I've got my trusty $8,000 whiteboard here. We're going to teach you to double your income. It's going to be a three-pronged approach, okay? Number one, okay, is going to be referrals. So I want you to raise your hand right now if you ask every single client of yours a referral. Okay, I do. Now, I have managed to start and build an 8-figure business without doing any paid advertising for our core services. We do some stuff for closing code and free resources and all that kind of stuff, but that, to be honest, is all brand building. All of our business comes from referral, right? We do, at Sales Sniper alone, we do well over $1 million a month, okay? And we manage to do that through referrals. Now, the only way that you can do that is through having a very, very good process that you take your clients through, right? So number one is have a process. Now, there's a couple of ways that we can do this, okay? The first way is that you want to ask for a referral either directly after you make the sale or at a set point in future, okay, when you know they're going to go through a high point, okay? So let's say you're selling a coaching program. Let's say it's a fitness coaching program, and at day 21, right, they've usually, in the standard client experience, they've had a really, really good experience so far, and they've maybe lost a bit of weight. So at day 21, I will always ask for a referral. Now, if it's a different program, if their delivery is not very good, okay, the onboarding structure is not very good, I'm going to reduce that maybe down to 7 days. If it's really, really good and it takes a longer time for them, let's say you sell an e-com product or something, it takes a longer time for them to get a result, I might do it at day 35. Okay? It doesn't really matter. All we want to do is make sure that we have a clear and concise process that we can follow every single time. I'm a big believer in asking for a referral the moment you make the sale, because they're at a high point, they're a commitment, and at that manufactured high point at day 31, day 35. The other thing that I do is I always ask for referrals at a high point. Okay? Now, what does a high point mean? So it means like after they've gotten a result, which is like a manufactured result, so I know that at day 21 they would have lost weight, so chances are it's a good time to ask them for a referral, okay? But the second thing that I can do is I can be a part of the coaching community, and I can be a part of the actual process and not just like sell people and just kick them out. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to monitor the progress of that client. I'm going to treat myself like I'm my own business. I'm going to have my sales, my marketing, and my delivery department, right, as an actual sales guy. So I'm going to monitor that in delivery, and I'm going to try and find that high point, and then I'm going to reach out to them and I'm going to get a referral then. Okay, so now I've got a couple of different mechanisms where I can get referrals, right? And that's going to be a huge thing, because if you sign up 10 people per week, at least 1 in 10 should give you a paying referral. Okay, so that number is 1 in 10. All right, so if you take 1 in 10 giving you a paying referral, then maybe 1 in 5 gives you a referral, you sell 50%, because referrals are good leads for the most part. That means if you sell 40 per month, you're now selling 44, okay? If you make $1,000 a sale, it's an extra $4,000 per month. So that's not an insignificant amount of money, and that's just to begin with, because now the next month you've got 44 people that you've sold, and now it's 1 in 10 of those. Now it's 4.4, okay? And it kind of snowballs to where if you're doing that for 3, 6, 12, 18, 24 months, you now probably have enough redundancy within this process to not actually require too much lead generation. So that is the first way, having a good, proven, and concise way of getting referrals. If you're wondering about the scripting side of things, you can go to salessniper.net/free resources. We'll put it up here. And there's a whole SOP, standard operating procedure, on how you can ask for referrals. Step number 2 to the ways that you can double your income in 2022. One of the main questions that I get asked, okay, is around follow-up. Now, what this is about figuring out catchments, right? You have a bucket and you have water flowing into this bucket, okay? They're your lead sources. Now, a lot of you have really fucking, you know, so many holes this thing can't even fucking keep up, right? You have a really, really leaky bucket, and these people are just flowing out of this thing everywhere, and then you're trying to fucking fill it up, okay? Okay? The problem is you don't have follow-up. I'll give you an example, okay? let's say there's a business that I consult for. What we're trying to do is fix the leaky bucket. Now, this is not an uncommon situation for us to walk into at Sales Sniper or any other thing where we're consulting or doing sales for people. These people, they have an application funnel. They have an app, right? Then from there, they go into a book a call, okay? They have about 600 roughly applications. That's name, phone number, email, a whole bunch of questions, all that kind of stuff. Then from there, they have 300 people actually book the call. Now these guys, unfortunately, right now they have a 50% no-show. So that means that 150 people are not turning up, 150 people are turning up. Now from there, they have a 30% close rate. Okay, so they're signing 50 people a week. Not too shabby, all right? From 600 people top of funnel, and they're getting around $5,000 dues, okay? It's actually freedom units, it's US Screaming Eagle dollars, so 5,000 freedom dollars. So what are they making here? They're making 250K roughly per week. Not a bad little business. Okay, now, how do we, without affecting this number, because this number takes time, right? You come to me, you want to make more money, you go, Matt, I need to get better at sales. No, that is not the way that you're going to make more money in the short term. This is the way you're going to make more money in the long term, and actually having to work less. But right now, we need to realize that time takes time, so getting to that next level is actually something that's going to take us a little bit of time. So instead of, we continue to work on that, but now we have to work on activity, things that can increase our opportunity. So what we do is we go, okay, there's 300 people in here per week. They're just in the ether. Nothing happening with those people, okay? And this is why this bucket is so leaky, because there's 600 fucking bits of water coming in, and only 50 of them are sticking on the way down. So now I don't really want to work on that particular number, because that's going to be really difficult to work on for the short term. So we're going to put in a follow-up here, like maybe put in some outbound people, okay? Then we have 150 people here. Right? Again, we're going to put them in here as well. So now we have 450 people per week of new blood coming through that we can go after, right? So we go after these guys, right? Now let's just say conservatively, we book 10% of them into a call. That's 45 sales calls per week, okay? That's 180 per month. Let's say 150 of them turn up, okay? Because the outbound team is actually really good at their job, okay? Actually, you know what? Fuck it. Let's just say they're bad at their job and it's 90 people. 50%, the same stats, and we keep the same close rate. That means we have an extra 30 sales times 5K equals $150,000 per month extra. So now we've added 11% top line revenue every single month, just by putting in a catchment system, which is probably going to cost us $3,000 to $5,000 a month of fixed outgoings, okay? So by analyzing your sales process in this sort of way, and by having a look at all the little catchment systems that you may not have in place, right, as a sales rep, as a business owner, this puts you into a position to where you can actually put in a plan to make more money without having to, one, massively increase your infrastructure, two, make significant changes to your marketing, which as a sales guy you probably don't control anyway, and three, getting significantly better at sales. So as you can see, we can have a really big output, right, by not having a crazy amount of input, right? You combine this with that, right? Right, we've got an extra $4,000 a month here, just off the one-off guy getting referrals, okay, which over a team this big is going to be an extra 30 sales per month, right, because of the size of the team and the amount of leads, right, and then we have an extra 50 sales per month, and now we've got an extra 80 sales per month, right, at $5,000 is $400,000 a month that we've now found for this business. All right, guys, so number 3 way that you can double your income, revenue, whatever the hell you want to call it, in 2022 is time and diary management. I'm gonna link down below a guy's YouTube channel called Spencer Burnett, okay? He's the guy who I hired to come in and do all this stuff for my guys, but I'm gonna give a really, really high level overview of how you as a business owner, as a sales guy especially, can use your diary to make more money, okay? So time is the one resource that none of us are ever gonna get more of, okay? is this fucking thing? So let's just say this is like 3 days of your calendar. Now, let's say it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I just can't be fucked wrong anymore of that, right? So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now, I'm just going to use accounts that I've used in the past. There's an account that's sold to tradespeople, right? Business coaches to builders, stuff like that. Now, those people are generally not very organized. It's just not really in their wheelhouse, right? Which is why they need coaches, okay? So for me, like Monday morning was an incredibly unproductive time to do sales, right? I was the head salesperson in that account, made a ton of sales for it. Monday morning, I would never, ever, ever do sales calls because my no-show rate was super high. Same with Friday afternoon, right? From about 12 o'clock onwards on Friday, okay, there was no point for me doing sales calls. The no-show rate was astronomical, right? So for me, it's not a very, very good use of my time, okay? So what I did is during those times, say from like 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. on a Monday, I did non-revenue generating or potentially not as revenue generating as a sales call, but important activities. So I would do my follow-ups, I would do my referrals, I would do any administration that I had to do for sales. I would do all that kind of stuff in those times, and I would do development in those times that I was setting myself up to where I had a maximum availability during the times that my prospects were going to actually turn up. I see it all the time. Sales guys have got all this fucking time in their diary spread out, and they're doing development and fucking 25 minutes of breathing exercises before and after every single sales call, and they have absolutely no time to make any fucking money, right? So we do that. Now, let's say I'm doing triages and sales calls, okay? Like, the temptation would be to do this, right? It's just to block out your triages and then block out your sales calls. I'll just use a different shape for representation, right? Now, this may seem like it makes sense on the surface of it, but there are a couple of issues with this, right? This is much better than having open slather. I've also seen people have triage and sales call diaries open. There are a lot of calendar deconfliction issues that will happen there because if you have a 15-minute triage and you have a 60-minute, right? That means that like it's very rarely gonna line up depending on how you have the diary structured. You're gonna end up having a large chunks of the day that sort of aren't bookable because those calendars end up talking to each other in different ways. So you need to sort of be able to segment your time out. But if you do like all morning triages, it doesn't really work, right? So what you have to do, you need to have like a chunk here, and then you wanna have a chunk here, and then you wanna have a chunk here of triages. You want to have sales calls here, sales calls here, sales calls here. Right? The reason why you want to do that is because you need to have good chunks of your calendar open at different time frames so that like people who can't make mornings, right, they can do an afternoon. People who can't do afternoons can do evenings. People who can't do evenings can do mornings, right? So you've got a good chunk, but it's in a 3-day period because if you book out much more than 3 days in advance, you induce no-shows. So just by having a think about the activity, the state that your prospects are in, right, is really going to have a large determining factor as to how effective your diary setup is. Now, if you go over to Spencer Burnett's channel and you find his Facebook group, which is called Hiring and Scaling, I'm pretty sure, he actually has a specific program for salespeople. It's like an 8-week boot camp where he takes them through exactly how to maximize their diary. It actually found 2 full days in Marco's week to where he could actually take some time off, which is strange for him. So again, I know this looks like a whole bunch of hickety-pickety hodgepodge, but having a diary that is effectively set up to where you can actually make the goals that you want. And I'll explain how that works, right? Let's say my goal is to make $20,000 per month, right? And I make $1,000 per sale. That's my column, right? So that means I have to make 20 sales. In reality, you have to make about 23 because of just the way that pull-out rates work and pauses and all. Anyway, but we'll keep it simple and we'll go 20. Then what we need to do, I'm going to assume we do a sales call and a triage. We have a 2-step process because it's very common these days and I much prefer it. We go, okay, to get 20 sales, how many sales calls do I actually need to take? Let's say you're a 50% guy. That means that you need to take 40 calls held. Now, to get 40 calls held, how many do you actually need to book in? I'm just going to use numbers because of my chimp brain. Let's say you have a 50% show up rate, right? Which would be trash, but I used to have it. That means that you need to have 80 calls booked. That's sales calls, right? That's 80 hours for the month. It's not crazy. It's 20 hours a week. It seems pretty reasonable. Now, in order to get 80 of those calls booked, how many triages need to be held? Let's say it's 160 triages held.
Triage held.
Now, how many of those triages need to be booked? let's just say, again, it's 360, right? Triage is booked. Okay, now this would be a real fucking problem, right? As you can see how, like, if it was even 60% show up rates, it would be significantly more manageable. But so then what we'd have to do is we go, okay, 360 by 15. All right, so I got my trusty calculator here. So 360 by, say it's a 15-minute triage, that works out to 90 hours per month. That is booked in your diary. Held is obviously half that, so it works out to 45 hours that you're gonna have to hold per month in terms of the amount of people that are booking in, okay? Then from there, we've got 80 booked, okay? That's 80 hours and then 40 hours, okay? So what we do is we have a look at like how much work we're actually doing. It's essentially 90 plus 80. It's gonna be 170 hours, okay? It's 40 hours a week, pretty much on the dot, right? So now that is a full-time job. And that's what you would need to do with those numbers to get that outcome. That's how much space you need to have in your diary. So if you don't have 90 hours of triages booked out, you cannot get that outcome based on your stats. So then what you have to do is you go, okay, cool, I've got to adjust my outcome to be more realistic. Let's say I'm going to adjust it to 18K, right? And that gives me, 35 hours that I have to work because I have other stuff I have to do, like I have to do my follows, my referrals, all that kind of stuff, right? That's just from your front end stuff. And then you're gonna chip away and you're gonna go, okay, man, like this is a huge time vortex. I've got 45 fucking hours here. Like, what am I gonna do to improve my show up rate to triage? Like, what can I do? Can I try some personalized reach outs? Like, can I speak to the business owner? All this kind of stuff. And then it's like, cool, I've got 40 hours here, right, that I'm wasting. What can I do to make this number better? And then I've got 20 here. What can I do to make this number better? But this is the one, right? That's gonna be your biggest one. And these two right here, and this is probably the two that you focus on the least. So what we wanna do is by having an optimized diary and by thinking about it logically and results driven and based on our goals, it allows us to actually see where the lowest hanging fruit is to be able to achieve our goals. All right, guys, I hope that was helpful. I hope you could understand my chicken scratch. If you can't, whatever, I don't care anyway. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, all that kind of good stuff, and I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye.